What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Nerdulator. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts and feelings of the new Transformers 1 movie. If you haven't already seen this movie, there will be a few spoilers, just a heads up on that. But I'm hoping that most people have now had the opportunity to see the movie. So I think it's sort of time for me now to sort of put out my thoughts and feelings on the movie. Just up front, I absolutely loved the movie. I think it was fantastic. I think they finally got back to where the Transformers franchise should have been. It's not overly G1. I mean, I know a lot of people really want a G1 follow on or whatever, or based on the actual old 86 sort of stuff. And I think the 86 stuff and, you know, the original cartoons and stuff, they've had their time. That's what makes them special to most people. I mean, they were the start of the Transformers, the way it brought it up. So it's not overly influenced by the Transformers. And in fact, I think it actually sort of embodies a lot of the Transformers shows throughout the time, which we'll get to in this discussion. I think it touched on a lot of different things between IDW, the later sort of Transformers shows and stuff, but it had a real core of like the G1, the essence of the actual characters themselves, mainly Orion Pax and Megatron. So for me, you know, that there's what we needed to get back to. I think just the Bayverse started just sort of taking names and slapping them to different things and stuff, and it just didn't work as well. But let's not get away from the fact that the Bayverse movies did reignite the Transformers franchise. And where would we be where we are now with in regards to Masterpiece and even the legacy sort of stuff and all? Would that have ever happened if the franchise wasn't reignited? So we have to sort of take that into consideration too. The Bayverse movies definitely have a big part to play in the Transformers franchise. So now that we've got that out of the way, so the actual movie itself, now I think as I said before, they touch on G1. So you've got Orion Pax starting off instead of just Optimus. You have Megatron starting as D16. You know, they're starting off not as the actual heroes or villain. And I think throughout the movie, you've got that sort of G1 essence. You know, it's on Cybertron. This is before the war. And this is just sort of the build-up. Now, a lot of it takes from IDW and the Align continuity, I think, with having the mines where the two of them were working. Obviously, they went down the route of Orion Pax being a miner as well, rather than a clerk. A data clerk. Couldn't remember that for a wee second there. So they went down the route that he was in the mines, and this is where him and D16 sort of became friends and worked together, and obviously built up a relationship through that. They also went on to like the High Guard, which we'll get to later on as well. So I know a lot of people had a little issue with Frank and Peter not voicing obviously Optimus and Megatron. But I believe, you know, it's sort of time. You know, Frank and Peter aren't getting any younger. They have been a massive part of the Transformers franchise as well. And I think it's just let them sort of have their time now. Obviously, you know, they want to spend time with their families and stuff. I think it's just time for them to sort of not be tied in all the time with Transformers. I mean, they do a lot of traveling with shows and stuff. So I think, you know, I think they're entitled to their family time as well now at this sort of stage. And as much as, you know, I wouldn't be against it, but I think it's nice just to move away. And I think that the guy that they got to voice Megatron, I can't remember his name straight off the top of my head. I know he wasn't in Eternals, I believe. But I think he done Megatron very good. And if you notice the subtle changes in Megatron's voice, or D16, as he progressed through, I know you've seen the eyes change, but did you notice the voice changing slightly as well, from the beginning to once he actually turned to being Megatron? there was a change in the voice, and I think he done it very, very well. It was just a subtle little change. You maybe won't notice it until maybe you see it again. You'll maybe be a bit more aware of it, but I did notice the slight little changes in his voice as he progressed to becoming Megatron, as he got just further and further down in the depths of his anger and frustration. So the Starscream, another great voice. The way they done this was really, really good. Just while we're on the topic of voices and stuff, Starscream's voice, the fact that it's Megatron that damages his voice box as such by strangling him, it turns it into that real screechy, crackly, annoying voice that we all know from G1. Yet again, another G1 sort of spot on it. Just sort of gives like the origin of Starscream having that really annoying voice that he had in G1 cartoons. That there's a sort of like subtle sort of bits that just touch on all the different sort of franchises throughout the movie. That there was just like a great origin story to Starscream's voice. The fact that Megatron does overthrow Starscream as a leader, obviously not as Starscream's a leader of the High Guard, and that sort of also gives you the basis of why Starscream wants to overthrow Megatron again as Decepticon leader. It's those little things that I thought really, really were great. I thought they were fantastic. We have the thing with Prime, with Orion Pax, is the thing that I like about him becoming Optimus in this movie is that he is chosen. It's not just something he comes across or comes upon to become by chance, to become Optimus Prime, like finding the Matrix and stuff like that, which from the initial part of the movie I thought that's the way it was going to go. They were going to find the Matrix and he was just going to become Optimus Prime, just like that. But the fact that, and this is very spoilerish, so you can mute this for for maybe 30 seconds, but whenever Orion Pax sacrifices himself to protect Sentinel from Megatron or D16 and then gets dumped into the abyss, I think then, it's that moment where he sacrificed himself, pretty much damaged, like the G1 cartoon where Orion Pax became damaged. They took him to Alpha Trial, and that's whenever he became Optimus Prime. So he falls into the abyss and he pretty much comes into contact with Primus' spark, and that's whenever he becomes Optimus Prime and is given / earned the Matrix of Leadership, which I think was phenomenally done. Really, really enjoyed that essence of it, rather than him just finding the Matrix and becoming Optimus Prime. They touch on how the Transformers began. So they had Primus, which touched on Transformers Cybertron from the Unicron trilogy, and he looked pretty much like the Cybertron version, and it was brilliant. That's just another franchise that they touch upon. Then another franchise that they touch upon is the Bayverse. They did touch on that in the fact, in essence, that Megatron rips Sentinel Prime in half. Now, in the Bayverse, Megatron ripped Jazz in half, and it's just the way it was done. It was done so well, and I was like, there you go. There's your nod to the Bayverse as well. There's probably a lot of nods that I haven't picked up on. If you've picked up on other ones, please let me know in the comments section below, because I absolutely love all these nods, and I know from listening to other videos I'll probably hear a lot more nods and sort of go, yeah, I actually remember that. But I've tried to stay away from any sort of reviews of it or anybody talking about their opinions as of this time of recording, because I don't want to be influenced by their thoughts. So I'm just taking it on the bits that I picked up on and what my feelings are. So the Quintessons were in it. I think they were done pretty well. There was a real sinister, dark, sort of terrifying sort of feel to them. But I do think that they could have been explained a little bit better. I think that, they're just there. Obviously, they've been fighting with the Primes. The Primes tried to fight against them and stuff. And then all of a sudden then that they just stopped. So it's like, I know Sentinel has an agreement with them, and he's given them sort of energon stuff, but I just would have preferred some other sort of, a bit more sort of in-depth about it. I know they're probably saving that for a second movie, which I am desperately hoping we get, but and hopefully they will touch upon that, because at the end the Autobots were going to go take on the Quintessons as such, so hopefully we get a bit more background to that and just a bit more explained. I know they did explain how the Primes were defeated and stuff, the betrayal, all sort of IDW stuff again. It does heavily come from IDW's findings and the line continuity, because I think for the most part it was done well at a stage, and I really enjoyed it. The Primes being betrayed, I think the old sort of version was maybe Megatronus or whatever actually caused the betrayal, but this time they done it with Sentinel, and making out Megatronus then as the strongest, and that's why D16 admires him a lot. And D16 then wears the face of Megatronus as the Decepticon symbol. Now this is another part that I thought they done really, really well, which was they explained that sort of Decepticon symbol, how that came about, how the insignia came about. So it's actually the face of Megatronus Prime. I know in the IDW comics it was more Tarn that wore the face of the Decepticon symbol, and there's a different story to that, obviously, because he was a fanatic. But I do think that, the fact that D16 idolized Megatronus, and Megatronus wasn't the villain as such, they were betrayed by Sentinel instead, so that still sort of gave a little bit more background to why he then chose that face. I mean, Sentinel brandishes it on, scores it into his chest, and D16 then decided to take on Megatronus's name as Megatron, and he also wore the badge as a badge of honor. And obviously then they described it as, we are being deceived, and that is where the Decepticons names come from. It's not that they have deceived or whatever, they believe that they've been deceived. So, that is amazing. Well written, well done, well executed. I think it was absolutely amazing to do it. That's what I'm saying, like the writing for this was so good. Even the bit, and I know a lot of people maybe might have overlooked it or picked up on this, but when the High Guard were in the train and Soundwave says, High Guard eject, and I was just like, oh man, this is awesome. Like just the scenes from that, I got a real nice feeling from that in itself. I thought it was absolutely amazing. Obviously Soundwave didn't have any of his little minions, I don't recall, but it's just the fact that he said, High Guard eject in that voice. It just brings back all those memories of a kid whenever he had his minions and stuff. So hopefully in the next movie, which I still really hope we're getting, we'll see some of his minions and hear him say that iconic line again and again. So on to the stuff that I thought were well done for certain reasons. Like, so you have like the jokes. The jokes were all right. They were more aimed at the kids, because let's face it, the kids have to enjoy this movie too. I went and seen it with my two youngest kids, and they both really enjoyed the movie. And that's the sort of bit where they have to tie it in a wee bit, because all that real in-depth stuff they maybe don't understand as much. So, but they enjoyed the movie because it had the jokes and it had a bit of fun and a lot of energy and life about it. And Orion Pax is quite, a friendly, happy-go-lucky sort of character and stuff. And they got onto that, so that's why that really was needed. I think through the movie, I know some of it was a little cringy for adults, but the kids loved it. So let's face it, it has to embrace the new generation just as much as us older collectors. So another thing then with the High Guard joining sort of D16. Now I know they're sort of fanatics, they're war ready, they're ready to fight, they're ready to battle. They just need a little bit of guidance or leadership. So they've maybe picked up on that D16, or he becomes Megatron, has now become that leader that they've been wanting and needing. They feel the exact same way as Megatron does, with being betrayed, and that Sentinel Prime probably should have been punished. He should have been killed and stuff. And the fact that Orion Pax stands up for him and tries to prevent him from being killed and wants to keep the order and stuff, and obviously they're finished with it. They're just done. They've had enough of this. Something needs to be done. Something drastic has to be done. Like I said, you can get a sense that they are fanatical and they are just ready to go for it, which sets it up well, because if we progress into G1, the Decepticons seem to be more battle ready. They're ready to fight. They are, they love war. They love to fight people. And the Autobots are sort of like the normal civilians that are now being forced into having to fight off the stuff, so they're not going to be ready. And I always felt like the Decepticons were just more war ready throughout any of the franchise and stuff, and were willing to fight at any costs and just do whatever they believed in. That was it, sort of thing. So I think that was really well done as well, and it does sort of bring that about and brings it full circle, I believe. So I think, like I says, overall, I absolutely love the movie, and I'm really hoping we get a second one. But I believe the budget for the movie was 75 million. Obviously, with the general sort of feel over there, and for the actual big movies and stuff for Hollywood, you have to multiply it by 2, I believe. I've heard that before for different sort of stuff. So that's for your advertising, your hoodies, your t-shirts, your adverts inside of buses, and then you have like the figures and stuff out there. So you're chatting maybe around the 150 million mark for them to sort of break even as such, or to be seen as a win. I know the opening weekend at the US, it actually only had about 29 million. And I do believe it's a lot of people that are maybe don't like the animation sort of things, or they're quite happy just to wait for it to come out on the streaming sites or DVD or whatever way it works. But I do think that once they eventually do see it, those people that aren't willing to go to the cinema and pay money to see it there, I think they're going to realise they've made a big mistake, because if they don't get a second, because this movie is absolutely fantastic. I do think that I think overall now, last time I checked, it was over 100 million, I think close to 112 million worldwide. So hopefully that just continues to go up and up, and I hope that they do see it as a success, that they will give us a second movie, because I think there's so much more that they can go on with this, and they've made an absolutely fantastic start. And we, as Transformers fans, need to sort of back this sort of stuff, because this is the stuff that we have been looking for. Yes, the animation mightn't have been great, the adverts mightn't have been so great, they might not have interested you, especially when the first one was more the jokey sort of side. But I am speaking to the older generation of Transformers fans with this one. We do need to back this, because this is the one we've sort of been wanting. This is the sort of Transformers movie we have been wanting. Yes, it's not like the G1 exactly and stuff, but the general essence of the movie, I think, is absolutely unreal. And you guys, we really do need to back this. We need to show that this is what we want, because at the minute, the way that Hollywood's going to look at it is, it's not as well received as the Bayverse movies, and they won't continue on with it, and they'll go back to making the Bayverse movies, which means the older sort of generation are going to hate on that, and the fact that they're going to say they still haven't given us a G1, but in their heads this is the sort of nod off, or like the nod to G1. This is where we need to be showing them, yeah, you have done this right, because I believe they've done it right. It's a real breath of fresh air into the Transformers franchise, and we really do need to back this, guys. So that's it for today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's just my thoughts and feelings. I can now go and listen to some other people's thoughts and feelings and see if there's stuff that I missed. Like I said, if there's other nods that you've picked up on that I've missed, please let me know in the comment section below, because I am really interested to see all the stuff, because I'm hoping to see this movie again and again and again, and I would love to pick up on more nods. So if you've seen more or noticed more and stuff, let me know in the comment section below, because I've really enjoyed the movie, and I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings on the movie too. And until next time, guys, stay awesome.